Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Brett McCollum, and I'm here today with Cathi Korelin. And today we're going to be talking about taxes. Before we do, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs to 5X their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted and live the lives they've always dreamed of. Without further ado, Cathi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Brett. Thank you. Tax season just ended, so the
Yay!
bulk of it is over. Still continues forever, of course, but hey, the bulk's over, so it's
There
doing
you
good.
go. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that because I'm sure there's a lot going on there. Before we do, let's rewind things back a bit, give some history, some context, catch us up to speed. Who is Cathi?
So my name is Cathi Korelin, and I am an enrolled agent. That means I'm actually federally licensed and licensed by the Department of the Treasury. Enrolled
Wow.
agents were actually started back at the end of the Civil War when they were trying to process war claims. The government decided that people were trying to cheat them, and so they created the enrolled agent to help process the claims.
Okay. Very cool. And what was life like before taxes, that sort of thing?
Oh, so I've had a few interesting jobs, I guess. Well, when I first started working, I worked in the restaurant world, and I'm from California in the beach towns, and I started off the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, the little famous only
Wow.
boardwalk on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I had a variety of jobs from there. Went to college. I worked in the travel industry for 10 and a half years. I used to book travel for for Nashville. Some of Tim, was it Tim? What's that singer? Faith
Tim
Hill
McGraw.
and Reba McEntire. I used to do some of their travel. Kind of fun.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, and how long were you doing that for?
10 and a half years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I got
quite a
stuck
bit of
going to
time.
Hawaii over and over and over again to see hotels. It was really a shame.
Oh man, darn. I feel so bad. Yeah.
But
Honestly, though, some people do say that the ongoing continuous travel is kind of, for pun intended here, it is kind of taxing. Um, yeah, but so you did that for 10 and a half years, and then before, that was before you got into the taxes. What kind of led you into the tax world? What was that process like?
so I know numbers. I've always been a number person. I like I don't want to say I can see numbers sometimes, but I work things out in my head, and sometimes I count things I don't even know I'm counting them. My brain
Uh-huh.
just kind of works that way.
Right.
Ever since I can remember. Um, we had 13 steps up to our apartment when I was younger, and I couldn't let it stop at a number that was not divisible by anything but itself, and so I had to go back down up steps to make it a more divisible number.
Wow. So that's like different. I am not a numbers person.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Okay. And that alone is, we're different people. So you're in the, and then what was so your whole life you've been, like you said, into the numbers thing and doing all that. What got you hooked, or what was the first step in you're dipping your toe in the water in the taxes arena?
In the tax arena, well, I always wanted to be like a tax attorney growing up.
Okay.
I think that there have been a lot of things that have happened in my past that made me think about law. So like when I was I'm from California. We moved to the town I was in when I was about 7 years old. And prior to that, my mom was actually escaping a cult.
Oh, wow.
And so I think that might have been what kind of got me interested in law. We were part of the People's Temple, the Jim Jones debacle, about 7 years before the big debacle happened.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of where I got started being interested in the law. But
Yeah.
I've always been a really kind of a shy person. So I did never want to be the kind of person who had to go up to court and be talking in front of juries. And since I was good at numbers, taxes always interested me. So that, well, if I'm a tax attorney, I never have to go to court or anything.
Yeah. So, all right. So now how long would you say you've been in the world of taxes?
20 years. I'm going on my 20th anniversary. I started off at some of the, big box stores, and then I worked my way to working for other individuals until I started my own company 10 years ago.
Wow. So 20 years that's not a short amount of time. Have you been on your own this whole time, or did you start somewhere else?
I started what they call the big box stores, one of the big three.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
encouraged me to become an enrolled agent,
Mm-hmm.
and they help take care of that. They help pay for all that. So I was one of the enrolled agents in the area. And the difference between an enrolled agent and a regular tax professional is that we're actually licensed by the Department of the Treasury so that we can represent people if they're audited.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so there were not a whole lot of enrolled agents in the district. So that was a
And you
limited
were out
number
of
of us that could
California
actually
still at this time.
represent people.
Yeah, you were out of California at this point?
Pardon me?
You were in California at this point still, is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. I was actually in California until 2021 when I moved to Missouri.
Okay. What brought you out to Missouri?
There were some life changes that were going on, and I was looking for another place to go. California is very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and I already had friends that had moved here from California. And so
Yeah.
I thought, well, if I moved here, it would give me a support group already here, so I can,
Sure.
and with good friends that were already here. So it made it a little easier. It's quite a far away. If it had been my friends had been here, it probably not have been my first choice destination.
Yeah.
It's quite different from California. There's no beach. I grew up on the beach. I scuba dived and stuff, so I grew up on the beach.
Yeah. And I will say though, to be honest, my wife and I have talked about this quite a bit. We're pretty blessed, we live in a small town right outside of Gainesville, Florida. You wouldn't think this is where is it, but in one direction, our best friends live this way. Another, 4 minutes, right? And then the other 5 minutes, the other direction, my in-laws live that way.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Across the street, just in another, right, the neighborhood across the street, her sister lives there. Like, our community is surrounding us within 5 minutes of any direction, you know? And if you're going to move somewhere, and you look for, like, having community and people that you know is everything. Like, and I'm that makes a lot of sense now. It's like, oh, you have, like, going from California to Missouri, but you've got you've got community, you've got people. That's really cool. I'm really excited for you for that. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about taxes a little bit on the high end level, if that's okay. So we've talked kind of offline quite a bit and get to know each other, and what you do professionally. I aim not to offend you with this statement, okay? But nobody wants to talk about taxes, right? We all, as we're real estate investors, in this listening audience, and most of us would rather not talk about it. We know it's needed. We know we have to have somebody. We know this, but we don't really want to talk about it. We really want to just make the money. Okay.
That's right. I know.
How, and your job function, is in the niche world of real estate.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what it is you do for the real estate community?
Absolutely. So I have a real estate niche firm. I work with most anybody in the real estate industry, landlords, flippers, wholesalers. And what I try to do is not just do their tax return, which of course I can do, but my job is to help you to stay compliant. It's to help do tax strategy to make sure that you're paying as little tax as possible.
Yeah.
I had a guy who was a doctor, and he had multiple properties, which he was not necessarily renting out. The tax law changes in 2017, the Trump tax law changes were a significant hit. He was making $2 million profit after expenses as a sole proprietor, which meant, like, between federal and state and all the other taxes, he was paying 60%. That's 1.2 million out of $2 million. By the time we finished rearranging his life, we knocked that down by 60%.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was paying them.
Yeah, that's
we brought him down, $720,000. Just that means he'll save that every year.
Every year, yeah, and that's because why?
So he had a sole proprietor business, which means that he's paid the highest amount of taxes. He's paying the Social Security, Medicare, federal, state, everything, which most people do. And what we did was we took him from a sole proprietor to a corporation. Because what the tax law changes, the corporation now had a set 21% tax rate. So
wow, okay.
The highest tax rate then was 39%. So we took him from 39 down to 21 right there, just by putting him in a corporation.
Yep.
Then he owned 5 properties, which he wasn't doing a whole lot with. One was like in Beverly Hills, and there was a big sporting event coming up. We got him out there rental with the Augusta rule, where you can rent your property out for 14 days. And not pay taxes on it, and he can get $2,000 or $3,000 a night for it. But this event coming up, he had family who couldn't afford to pay fair market rental in a couple of properties. We had him gifting money to family so they could pay fair market rental, so we could turn all the taxes into tax deductible. The tax law changes. They were capping the property taxes deduction at $10,000, and he had like over $100,000 worth of deductions. So by getting all these properties into as rentals, so now he can deduct everything. His wife was his medical biller, and we took her out and started her own medical billing company.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And then hiring the kids and hiring other family members. So they had more money coming in. By the time we rearranged all this, I mean, we cut 60% off his tax bill. Then in a few years, he'll have more growth, and he'll be able to come back and do another round of at different income levels are different things we can do to save you money. So once he has more growth, now he can back and do other things.
Right.
So right now we got him so where who wants to make it $2 million and get to take home 800,000 of it? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost have to continue earning more and more just to survive, with tax burden like that, right? It's
Right.
yeah, and it sounds good on paper to say I made $2 million, but you didn't keep $2 million, and I think
it's
that's the
it's
biggest
not what
thing
you
for
earn,
us.
it's what you keep.
Yeah, and it's so good that you, as in your niche, that you understand that world of the real estate investor, and knowing the laws and I wouldn't call them necessarily loopholes, but the things that using the tax, code to its full weight, and to benefit, what we do. And it sounds, I love that you do that. What do you think, as the real estate investor, what are the common things that you see that we don't take advantage of that we should?
So what I see is a lack of proper bookkeeping. I had somebody we went through and redid 3 years of bookkeeping and found them $7,000 more in deductions. So bookkeeping is not being done properly.
Yeah.
A lot of things you're not taking advantage of are deductions that are not directly related to business necessarily. And so, like, everybody knows about cost segregation studies. That's talked about a lot
Right.
in the industry. So that's not a big surprise. I have a client who's selling his business. He bought another business, so we're going to use the cost segregation study on the new business to get rid of the taxes on the one he's selling. Everybody
Okay.
knows about most people are familiar with cost segregation studies. That's like the big thing in the industry.
Right.
But like, people don't look at the little things, and it's because they don't work with their tax professional. And they're not necessarily, they add up really fast. Like, if you're going to hire somebody, there's a work opportunity tax credit, depending on what type of people you hire, but you have to start the credit before the hiring process. So it's too late.
Right.
If you're contributing to your retirement plan, and if you get this on an automated basis, like every month a certain amount, there's actually a tax credit for it. So if you're not working closely with your tax professional, your tax strategist, then you're going to miss all these things that are out there. I look at my clients' state taxes. Most people just ignore state tax. The federal, they do the federal number flows over to the state, and they just, okay, state's done.
Yeah.
But I look at the state taxes to see what it is that we can do. In my state, if you donate to certain charities, 75% of that is a state tax credit, which means it comes directly off your taxes. So for every $100, $75 is state tax credit. Whereas normally with the higher standard deductions nowadays, most people can't deduct charity.
Yeah.
In my state, if you have there's a first time home buyer's account. So if you put money into
Yep.
a home buyer's account for 5 years, that money is tax, half of it is tax deductible off your state taxes, and you're also putting money aside to buy your first home, which is great
Right.
if you're looking at buying your first property. If you want a house hack and buy something and live in it, you could buy a duplex or triplex, fourplex, and live in it and get the first time home buyer credits, and all these things, but start with a larger property. You buy a
Right.
duplex, you could live in half. The renter is basically paying all the expenses for the duplex.
Yep. And
These are
using the
all
tax.
things that people don't look at. And so when I have a new client, I'm looking at their state also to see, are there credits that we could make you qualify for? A lot of credits you're not going to just qualify for off the bat. You have to do something to
Yeah.
make yourself qualify for them. And so that's what I want to do, is say, hey, what is there in your state that we can make you qualify for without too much effort?
I like that. Yeah, it's not just let's accept it as low-hanging fruit, let's find more opportunities. I love that.
Mhm.
You'd mentioned to me kind of offline a little bit that you were working on and you're finishing up a book that you've been writing. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's that? Tell me about that a little bit. I mean, I'm curious.
My book is the working title at the moment is Creative Real Estate Finance and Tax Strategies.
Hmm.
So I'm working with people who work with creative finance, so seller finance, wraps, novations, all those things.
Right.
Some types of investments are passive and some are non-passive. And there are tax ramifications for how you run your business.
Okay.
If you're a landlord, you're filing out a Schedule E, there's no self-employment tax. Does that mean you want to turn into a short-term rental with extra services and turn it into a business where you are paying self-employment tax? And so my book is going to talk about the different types of real estate financing that's out there, the type of real estate deals, and how they all affect you tax-wise. Should you buy a house in an S corporation?
Yeah.
Well, we usually recommend you don't. There are situations where people will reset depreciation. And I'm not saying it's always a good idea, but let's say you own a home and you've owned for a long time, you've depreciated already. You might sell it to an S corporation. Then the S corporation is going to now depreciate it at the new fair market value.
Okay.
So you're getting the depreciation again, but now you've got
Right.
it at an S corporation, which is maybe good, maybe bad. Because if you
Hmm.
want to take it out of the corporation, you have to sell it again.
I see.
So
Yeah.
it's not always a good thing, but sometimes maybe there's a need, So it does. My book's going to talk about, what are the tax advantages and what are the bad things about these things? Are you buying something sub two where you are buying it from somebody but not taking ownership, but you're paying their mortgage? People get confused as to who gets that mortgage interest deduction because it's not in their name.
Right.
And so it's going to cover all these types of things. Opportunity zones,
Yeah. Big one.
installment sales, buying in trusts.
Hmm.
People are using trusts to try to avoid the due on sale clauses.
Right. But if it's not even then, if that's not set up right, there's some yeah, make sure you have I will say this, make sure you have a good real estate attorney, guys, if you're going to be doing some of this stuff. But keep going. Sorry.
And you know what? Your tax professional should be working with your attorney,
Oh yeah.
which should also be working with your financial person who does your life insurance, all that stuff. So you should have a team that works with you, not just one person, but you should have a team that works
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and I love that you said that too. It's really important. And I think a lot of us, some of us may have like, oh, I send stuff to I have a tax guy, I have a tax, I have a tax, I have an attorney. But that's a good point is they don't really talk to each other much. They're all kind of like my real estate agent does their own thing over here. My tax person does their thing over here. I have a bookkeeper that does their thing over here, and nobody really talks to each other. Um, do you find that the folks you worked with that do have that team that's kind of working in unison, what is their on your side specifically? How do their taxes tend to work out from what you've seen?
Well, I think when you start having a team that works with you, you're going to save more money and be more organized. When I talk to people for the first time, I ask them what is their net profit, and they have no clue. They always tell me how much their sales are. And I say, well, what are your expenses? Oh, they have no clue. So if
Yeah.
you're working with your tax professional, with your bookkeeper, with your attorney, you're going to know where you are financially. Having money in the bank is not an indication of how much money you've made.
That is so true.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that intimately, unfortunately. That is-
And then to get a surprise tax bill, especially people who are newer in the industry who are just starting to make money, they don't understand how the self-employment tax works. They don't understand how the net investment tax works. And so their first year or two in business, they get hit with these big tax bills and it shocks
yeah.
them. And it starts a
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah. What do you recommend if somebody were just starting off, right? And they don't have their team in place, they don't have their like let's say they're flipping houses, right? And so they own an LLC because that's what they were told to do, and that LLC is and they're making, $40,000-$50,000 a flip, and they're thinking they're crushing it. What do you recommend that they kind of off the top park away for taxes?
The general accepted number is to put 30% aside for tax.
Yeah.
15% alone just goes to self-employment tax, so your Social Security and Medicare. And
Yeah.
so you could easily be in a 10 or 15% tax bracket for federal. That doesn't even talk about your state. So really, that 30%, including state, should be up to 35 to 40%.
Yeah.
You don't realize just how much in tax they're paying.
But if we can find a Kathy out there that can find credits for us to offset that, is that correct?
That, yes, and just there are ways to manipulate numbers. Everybody thinks they want to have money into, their IRA, their 401k, their Roth, traditional. How all those numbers come and work together. I made $100,000. I paid $3,000 in tax, and most of that was just self-employment tax because I had to pay myself a salary. So I
Right.
had to take out Social Security, Medicare from that. But if I made $100,000, I paid no federal or state tax on it because I
Yeah.
know how to manipulate the numbers,
Right.
and that's
Yeah, and
without
that's
taking
why
the
it's important.
salary.
Right. Well, that's just really why it's so important because very easily can you make $100,000 and just like you said, you take home 55 or 60,000 of that 100 very easily. That happens, and that is not why most of us got into this business is to pay 30-40% to a tax burden, and unfortunately, I know people that have missed something on an accident, didn't really realize it, and the next thing you know, they're getting hit with a six-figure tax bill that they have no way to pay.
Mhm.
And that's a very scary situation. So, I mean, personally, I would recommend people, if you're listening to this, to go ahead and like reach out to a tax professional that understands the power of real estate, that understands, that. And Kathy, I'm going to have you in a second here tell us where people can connect with you as well. Because with what you do being, with the way your license works, you're across all 50 states. But I would encourage you guys to get started on that before, like, even if you've been flipping for a long time, at least start talking to somebody else right now.
Even if you can't, even if you don't think you can afford someone on a regular basis, like where you're meeting with them quarterly or monthly, at least sit down once or twice a year with someone
Yeah.
and see how things are going because you can always get things on track if you just
Yeah.
sit down and talk to somebody once or twice to at least see where you are at. It's much better to have someone like me who you're meeting with on a monthly or quarterly basis
Yeah.
and who's on your team. But if you can't do that right now, meet with somebody. It's going to cost you $3.50 to $5.50 an hour, but it's worth it to save so that you're not owing that six figures or even so you're prepared when you owe that six figures.
Yeah, I think that preparation is everything of knowing what to expect. I think that's most people's problems. They don't know what to expect. And then when it happens, they're like, oh my gosh, instead of being, they're reactionary. Instead of being responsive, they're reactive and then getting themselves into mistakes. So, but Cathi, if people do want to connect with you though, what do you think the best way for that is to happen?
I am accessible by phone or email pretty easily. And my email is Cathi with an I, CATHI, at elitetaxinc.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is 573-797-9977. Made nice little round numbers that repeat.
There you go. Yeah, and we'll make sure we get that into the show notes as well, right? So, guys, and seriously, if you're in a situation where, not even if you're in a situation, if you're in real estate and you don't have somebody like looking out for you on your taxes, reach out. I know Cathi and I, we've talked quite a bit at this point. I know she's absolutely willing to go above and beyond to help you guys, to get you on track to do get you set up. But yeah, Cathi, this has been great. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. When do you anticipate your book maybe being able to come out?
I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks. I've got pretty much mostly written. Just need to do a few more tweaks, maybe combine a couple of chapters and maybe just get it proofread.
Yeah.
And so then hopefully next couple of weeks.
That education is so needed in our space. So I look forward to seeing that when it comes out too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, thanks for being here with us. I appreciate you taking your time, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and I hope our audience takes a lot away from this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate. I hope so too.
Yeah. And guys, thank you as well for hanging out with us. I appreciate you spending time and listening, and we will see each of you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.